Hello, Bridgewater College Education 370 students. In this screencast, we're going to cover some of the details required of you in your back-to-school PowerPoint assignment. Now, I'm not worried about your ability to create a PowerPoint. You've probably done that since middle school, if not before then. So I'm confident you know how to create a PowerPoint. I just want to make sure that you know how to do some of the extra features that are required in this assignment. And of course, you know that when you open PowerPoint, it comes to a opening slide like this, where PowerPoint reads your mind and says, okay, what's the title of your slide going to be? And my PowerPoint is about my math class, my Algebra 1 class. So of course, all I'm going to do is to type in Algebra 1 here, and then I'm going to put my name down here, and so forth. Then to go on to the next slide, which you recall that this assignment requires that you have a page that says what will you study in this class and so forth. All I do is I click on the new slide option and then give it a title and then click to add text. Turns out I've already done this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the PowerPoint where I've already done that, which now looks like this. And here's my first slide, and here's my second slide in which I've listed the things that we'll study in our Algebra 1 class. I've also done another slide on classroom rules, which is a requirement of our class, and I've done one on class expectations and one on grading. And just as a reminder, the way that came about was I simply clicked on New Slide, chose Title and Content, and decided to put up at the top, like maybe I'll create a slide that just simply says about me. And then I'll click down here and I'll start adding the content. And again, I've already got some of that done. So here's what that content is going to look like. So you've done this before. I'm not worried about your ability to get this far. So of course we want to make our slideshow more attractive than just simply black and white. And you've done this before, I'm sure. Go up to Design and find a template that you're happy with, that has the color choice in it that you're comfortable with. Let me try this one. Maybe no. So maybe I'll try this one. I like that color a little bit better. So we're going to pick this template now. And of course it's changed not just my first slide, but it's changed every other slide as well. And you know, when it does this, sometimes it'll change the font size, and sometimes I'm not real happy about that. Like I might want this to be larger, so I might want to highlight and then pick a different font size here just to make something a little bigger. Maybe Algebra 1 needs to be bigger too, so maybe I'll make that even bigger than. So you can certainly make changes even though the template made those original changes for you. So now we've got a better looking slideshow than before, but now we want to learn to make it even more attractive. One of the first things we're going to learn to do is to add transitions. Now a transition is what happens between slides. Right now, if I were to view this slideshow, you would see, in fact, let's just view the slideshow. There's two ways to view the slideshow. One way is to go up to Slideshow and pick from beginning. So if I do that, it will start my slideshow. To go to the next slide, there's about 5 different ways to do it. Spacebar will do it. So will the right arrow key. So will click of the mouse, and so forth. But notice that there's really nothing happening between these slides. That it simply goes from one to the next, and after it gets to the last one, it stops. So I want something a little bit more eye-catching to go on between these slides. So what I'm going to do is to go to the tab called Transitions. And I'm going to have my slides go from one slide to the next by doing some kind of a transition. And there's lots of options here, some of which I find to be more annoying than others. I'm going to pick Rotate. Now, I also want this to apply to all my slides, so I'm going to click Apply to All. Now let's see how it works. again, we're going to start our slideshow now, and the two ways to start it are to go up to the top and pick slideshow, and then from beginning, or you can use the icon down here on the toolbar that allows you to start the slideshow. This time, notice as I go from one slide to the next, the slides rotate in, and to me that's a little bit more eye-catching, a little bit more professional looking. And after all, that's part of our job, is to make professional presentations, and now this looks a lot better just by adding that transition. You can have different transitions between one slide and the next. I've chosen not to do that. So that's called a transition, and again, you do that right here from the transition tab on PowerPoint. Another thing that I want to look at is when you click on the slideshow icon, Setup Show. I'm going to click on Setup Show, and I want mine not to stop when it gets to the last slide, but to loop continuously. I might even set it to where it advances slides on its own, and we'll learn how to do that in a minute. But for the time being, I want it, when it gets to the end, go right back to the beginning. And so now, notice that if I start my slideshow from the beginning and then go through the slides, that's the original slide. Here's the first data slide. Here's the second. Here's the third. Here's the next. Here's the one about me. And it's the last one, yet when I go to the next slide, it goes right back to the beginning. So I like that feature. And incidentally, you probably know that if it's in the presentation mode and you want to get back into the edit mode, you hit the escape key on your computer. So I've pressed the escape key and I'm back now to the presentation mode. So we talked about adding transitions between slides. Let's talk about animations. I'm going to go to this slide where we talk about what we learned in this class. Right now, all 5 bullets are presented at one time. I would like for the bullets to come in one at a time though. So maybe if I'm talking to my students about this, I will talk about the first bullet, and then when I'm ready I'll click, and then the second bullet will come in, and when I'm done with that I'll click again, and the third bullet, and so forth. So I want to add what's called an animation on this slide. So I click on the text box that has these 5 bullets in it. Click on the text box first. Click on the Animations tab. Now, at this point, we've got lots of options here on how we want those bullets to come in. And I think I'll just pick a simple one. How about wipe? That's a nice one. So let's see how this slide would work now with the animation on it. Now, I can go slideshow and start from the beginning again, but you notice that, again, this icon on the toolbar down here will start at whatever slide I'm on. So I'm going to click on this, and it will start right on this slide. So it's waiting on me to click. I'm going to click once, and the first bullet comes in. I'll click again, and the second bullet comes in, and the third bullet, and so forth. So that's called an animation, and it allows you to talk about items one at a time on your bullets. I did not animate this slide though, so its bullets all come in at one time. And remember, I pressed the escape key to get out of the presentation mode and back to the edit mode where we can make changes. So certainly I could add animation to these bullets if I wanted to. The next thing we're going to learn to do is to include a digital picture. So I want to put a picture on this page. After all, there's a lot of white space here, and I think the slide would be more attractive if I were to add a picture to this page. Now, I've already reduced the file size of the picture I'm about to put in, and if you don't know how to do that, there's a screencast that will show you how to reduce the file size of a picture before you drop it into PowerPoint, and you definitely should do that. I'm going to insert the picture that I used on the screencast for reducing file size. I'll go to Insert. I'm going to insert a picture, so I'll click Picture. And my picture is out of my pictures library. And sure enough, there's one here called Hill Trio Reduced. That's the one that I reduced in file size. I'm going to insert it. Wow, it comes in so big it takes up the whole size of the slide. Well, I can grab the corner. And a trick here is if you hold the Shift key when you drag it, it will keep everything in proportion. Now, incidentally, it's perfectly okay for a digital picture to do what I just did. Go from large to small. It is not okay to take a digital picture and go from small to large, because if you do, the picture may be very, very grainy. Any picture that, for example, that you've copied from the internet or something like that and you want to make it bigger, be very careful, because you'll end up with a picture that just does not look good on your PowerPoint. So I've got a picture now on my PowerPoint. Let's go to a different slide. And notice on this one I've got room that I could add something else to. In fact, what I might want to do is to put a picture or a clip art here on the right and move this text over. So what about if I click on the text box and slide that in a little bit? And that makes room for me to add a piece of clip art here on the right. So to do that, I go to Insert, Clip Art. In the clip art window, I can search for something. What if I search for the word test? Let's see if it finds anything. Oh, yes, it finds some tests here that I might want to use in my PowerPoint. How about, I like this one. A couple of other things that you might want to know. First of all, what if I wanted to set this slideshow up so that it just runs on its own? That it doesn't need me to advance the slides, it just does it on its own. I've clicked on transitions. We were there before. I'm going to come over to Advanced Slide, and I'm going to say advance this slide after maybe 5 seconds. Okay? And I want to apply to all. So let's run the slideshow. Slideshow from beginning. This time I'm not going to click. I'm simply counting. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now even the bullets come in on their own, even though I've animated them. But in 5 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes on to the next slide. And remember that I've set my slideshow so that when it gets to the end, it just starts all over again. And 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're back to the beginning. If I hit the escape key, that will stop it. There are other things that you could add to your slideshow that I'm not going to cover in this screencast, but we'll cover in class, like how to add music as a background. It's not going to be a requirement of you. I'm going to show you one more trick that I use a lot that not everybody knows about PowerPoint. Sometimes I want my slideshow to start instantly. Maybe I want it to begin my class the very first second with the PowerPoint going, but I don't want students to be looking at it beforehand. So what I'll do is I'll start my slideshow from the beginning. It's now on my first slide. I'm going to hit the B key. My screen's black, and you're seeing a black screen now. When you hit B again, it comes back. So B will black your screen out so that no one can see what's going on. And when you hit B the second time, it's now in view. Well, I hope you've learned a few things today and how to use PowerPoint, and then I hope you can have the assignment done for Education 370 class. Thanks. We'll see you later.